Hey ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. As always, it is Nick here, back with your daily crypto news and analysis. And today we are going to be talking about Ripple and XRP, as well as the vast majority of crypto and finance. And I figured I would start off this video with my tweet before we even dive in. So one, I just want to say to anyone out there that is holding XRP and waiting for a specific date, I want you all to understand that as we really kind of look at dates around the space, there is no reason to hold these dates to realization. Meaning, we have seen dates being thrown around since the inception of this lawsuit. I remember early on, it was around I want to say December, January of the 2020 to 2021 timeframe. There was a lot of people saying that this case is going to end in 2 months, 3 months, 5 months, 6 months, all of a sudden 12 months, and now it's just random dates. It's even the same with the Sunshine Act meetings with the SEC. They're absolutely ridiculous. None of it pertains to XRP. As we do look here, though, I said I hate relying on dates with any crypto, especially XRP, but it seems like June 13th could be very big for the XRP community if we get no delays. We already got one delay around the Hinman emails, and now we question on if it's going to continue to happen or what's going to really happen on June 13th. This might just be a nothing date, though. I said it could be big, but it might just be a nothing date. We don't know, right? And honestly, if I had $1 for every time that we had a delay around XRP, or even these dates that mean nothing, I probably would have a decent amount of XRP right now just from that alone. So again, don't tie dates to anything. Don't really kind of hold a lot of weight on the shoulders of these dates, because most of the times, guess what? These dates, they don't really pertain to much. But we did see over here from Jeremy Hogan, the judge in the Ripple case has been making major rulings about every 9 weeks, September 29th, December 19th, March 6th, May 16th. And the only major ruling left is on summary judgment. That comes out to mid-July. Not a prediction, just a pattern. And this is because of that video that I played in yesterday's video, actually talking about Brad Garlinghouse saying that the lawsuit against Ripple could end within weeks. Listen, I don't know what the idea around, just saying, hey, the lawsuit can end in weeks is going to do. As we really kind of look at these statements, I think that these are just open statements. It's like me saying, hey, I think, next week the weather's going to be, sunny, and all of a sudden next week comes in, it's rainy, right? There's no reason to really kind of, hold a lot of weight on that, because I could easily say, hey, next week it's going to be sunny. All of a sudden you prepare for a vacation to go to the beach, and you go to the beach and guess what? It's raining. So as we do look at this, I don't think that we need to really kind of hold a lot of weight to this. Is the lawsuit going to be, done in weeks? We don't know. Is it going to be done in months? We don't know. Is it going to, spread to years and years and years? We don't know, right? Hopefully not, but we don't know, right? That's just the end of it. We don't know. We're not the ones in the seat. The judge is the one that is in charge right now, so we have to wait and see what actually happens around this. But I will say, there is a few things that I've been watching for, and there's a few things that have been getting posted around a few individuals tied to this lawsuit. For example, Hinman. We do see over here from Mr. Huber. He posted this over on Twitter, which I found this absolutely insane. This is shocking to me. We do see history in the making, and hopefully someone will go to jail at some point, which we highly doubt this, right? Because these agencies, these individuals never go to jail. The SEC amended its disclaimer thanks to Bill Hinman's bribe. Thanks, Tiger Mike 15, for the note. And here we have, first off, he's quoting Ben Edwards over on Twitter. We do see, you may have noticed that the SEC recently changed its disclaimer language when officials speak to the public. It now includes a statement that the remarks are in the official capacity. This is probably in response to the Ripple Labs discovery dispute. Historically, this was the customary disclaimer. Before I begin, I must give the customary disclaimer that the views I express today are my own and do not necessarily reflect the views of my fellow commissioners or the staff. Now it goes something like this. My views are my own as chair of the SEC, and I am not speaking on behalf of my fellow commissioners or the staff. Or you might see it like this. I would like to share remarks that reflect my views as an individual commissioner of the SEC and do not necessarily reflect the views of the full commission or my fellow commissioners. This is all likely in response to the discovery dispute with the Ripple Labs over the access to materials related to the 2018 speech. Short version, The court allowed discovery because the earlier disclaimer made it harder to show that the documents relate to some form of agency position, decision, or policy. Now, with remarks being given in official capacity, it seems easier to draw that connection. And yeah, this is actually kind of wild if you think about it. But what I'm really kind of seeing here is like a lot of problems around this space with the SEC. I think that the SEC, one, they've been flip-flopping around, but also two, they've been going back and covering up information, hiding information, deleting information. Like, this is wild to me. But we do see, if you regularly read speeches given by the SEC commissioners and staff, you may have noticed a change in the standard opening. For most of my career, the remarks always begin with the same or with something to this effect. And this is what I just read. Like, it's kind of wild. It really is kind of wild on what the SEC does. I mean, at this point in time, like, I really don't, like, I'm not really shocked by anything that the SEC has been doing, because for the longest time, for 2.5 years, we know of the corruption that is bleeding at the SEC. I mean, there's so much. So, this doesn't really surprise me, but it's shocking that, it's so blatant at this point. But nonetheless, we do see over here as well, we've been fighting on behalf of the whole industry, Ripple President Monica Long says, discussing the ongoing lawsuit with the U.S. We're optimistic we'll hear from the court this year, she adds. And listen closely to this.
Speaking of regulation here in the U.S., I think we have to ask you about the lawsuit. Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, recently said it's going to cost $200 million for Ripple when this lawsuit is said and done. Can you give us any updates on where we are with it?
The case of Ripple and the SEC, I mean, this is really something that we see as, we've been fighting on behalf of the whole industry. It's going to have a monumental impact on the whole industry. The latest is that as of last fall, both the SEC and Ripple filed our motions for summary judgment. So the decision now will rest with the court, and that we don't have any updates on timing. Unfortunately, we'll find out with the rest of the world when the judge makes her decision.
Are you expecting to hear something soon? I know I've seen reports, some speculation about possibly there could be a judgment soon.
We're optimistic that we'll hear from the court this year. Don't have any more specifics on timing, but we're optimistic we'll hear within this year, and we're also very optimistic about our prospects and the set of legal facts that are really on the side of Ripple in this case.
So I mean, they're very confident about it. Me personally, I would love to see a decision this year. I mean, I think that we've been waiting for so long. I mean, it's going to go on to 3 years at the end of this year. So, yeah, we've been waiting forever. It seems like forever. So hopefully, it does, happen this year. We'll hear a decision from the court. But yeah, I mean, as we do look at this lawsuit, I think that there's so much riding out on it. So it's going to take some time. I'm still optimistic about, Ripple winning it. But they could definitely lose. I mean, like listen, that's a possibility. I mean, I would hope for them not to, but it is still a possibility. I'm optimistic that they will win, but we do see over here as well from Johnny Deaton, Monica Long is on target when she says the unsealing of the Hinman emails is a win for transparency. When we read these emails, drafts of the speech, and comments by the SEC senior staff, people will ask, why did Hinman and a few others insist on this lawsuit? What do you see? There must really be something shocking in those Hinman documents / emails. Ripple sure is highlighting their significance. Listen closely.
We do know that the judge issued an order very recently that pertain to, which documents in the case would be kept under seal and which ones would not. Very importantly, at least in our view, Bill Hinman's emails will be revealed. They'll be made public in the coming weeks. And we think that's significant because Bill Hinman, when he was acting director of CorpFin at the SEC, he gave a very famous speech in 2018 where he said that he saw, or the SEC saw, that Ether did not look like a security because it had been sufficiently decentralized. And now we're going to, through the revealing of his emails, we're going to get more insight into what went into that decision.
Tell us a little bit more about these Hinman papers. I know we want to get more insight into what went into that decision, but once we get that insight, what could it mean for your case?
It's to be determined, just by the court, of course, what ultimately they will decide in the case. The ruling on the Hinman emails, we think, is certainly a win for transparency, where the crypto industry at large is really seeking clarity from the U.S. We think that this transparency will go a long way. And then ultimately, of course, the ruling in our case.
So yeah, I mean, there is a lot of significance riding on these Hinman documents. I've broken it down on what information is going to be included in these documents and emails. I think it's extremely damning for the SEC. I think that the general public deserves to see these emails because for the longest time, I mean, the retail sector has been hurt by the remarks of the SEC. $15 billion in damages is nothing to write off. I think that there's a lot more as well. But, as we really kind of look at this, we are waiting for the emails. Me personally, I actually think the emails are much larger than a summary judgment, decision. Why? Because I think that I honestly think that these emails could ultimately not only push the SEC out of the jurisdiction area of crypto, which they technically don't even have jurisdiction over, but also it could lead to a full-on restructuring of the SEC, which again, I said, like anybody that walks through those doors, most likely corrupt. So I would love to see the SEC abolished. Who knows? These emails, these documents could very well be so damning to the point where we do see the SEC, disbanded. But who knows, right? I still think that these emails are extremely, extremely large, and I think that they are very beneficial for Ripple to have. Because, Brad Garlinghouse already said, they seen them. Technically speaking, they already seen them. We do see the SEC wants you to think that it cares about disclosure, transparency, and clarity. Don't believe them. When the truth eventually comes out, the shamefulness of their behavior here will shock you. And we do see over 18 months and 6 court orders later, we finally have the Hinman documents. So yeah, I mean, there is something within them. Are they going to shock us? We don't know. Right? Could it just be a play on the retail sector? It could be. Listen, I've said it. I think that this, case could very well be one of the biggest distractions that we've seen around crypto. I mean, it could be one big show just to slow things down so that Ripple could, help with the U.S. financial system. We don't know, right? We could speculate all day long. But I just cannot wait to see these documents. Hopefully they don't get delayed. Hopefully we get to see them. Hopefully there's still transparency within this space. I can't wait. I seriously can't wait. And also, by the way, what's even more crazier about all of this is that Bill Hinman, aka William Hinman, well, guess what? He's now returning to Simpson Thatcher. After everything the XRP army has exposed about William Hinman's violations of federal ethics rules at the SEC Gov, how does Simpson Thatcher still have him on staff? It's very simple, right? People are getting paid off. I mean, it's as simple as that. And corruption, man, does it run deep? I think that this is just insane. I can't even believe these people still have jobs. I question on why they aren't locked up. I'm right on par with Huber over here. Hopefully someone will go to jail at some point in time. We've actually speculated in the past that, William Hinman is actually a fall guy. We don't know if he's going to go to jail. We don't know if he is the fall guy fully, but it would make sense for them to throw him under the bus and say, hey, this was all confusion led by William Hinman. But I think those Hinman emails, I think that that's a little bit more damning. I think that what we will see from that will ultimately spread to a lot of individuals that walk through those SEC doors. So I'm still hopeful that we will see those Hinman emails. Hopefully we do. And I think that from there, we will see a massive domino effect that's going to be in the favor of the general public. But also over here, we do see Digital Asset Investor actually posted this. Charles Gasparino, I'm just going to say it right now. This was a guy that initially was a white knight on media for crypto. And since then, changed his view entirely in favor of the SEC. What do you see over here? Gary is flogging his SEC staff to bring as many crypto cases as possible. Brad Garlinghouse confidently says case ends in weeks, not months. Sounds like Gary wants to bring the cases fast because he smells a loss and won't have the grounds to bring them after a Ripple win. But Charles Gasparino says Gary smells a win. Listen closely to this. This is about 2 minutes and 30 seconds long.
And here's where it may come from an old friend of the crypto industry, Gary Gensler. So here's what we know from I'm saying that sarcastically. Here's what we know from securities lawyers who represent clients that are under the gun in the crypto industry. What we understand is that Gensler is preparing essentially what has been described as a second leg of enforcement actions against the industry. It's been described to me from these same lawyers. Again, these are securities lawyers. A lot of them used to work at the SEC. You know, that's kind of how it works. You work at the SEC, then you go into private practice. What they're saying is that he's flogging, that's the word I heard, flogging his staff to bring crypto cases, and bring a lot of them following the FTX debacle. He thinks he's got good law on his side, and here's where he wants it. He wants to bring the cases, from what I understand, at least the read I'm getting. Okay, remember, I'm only as good as my sources. This is what they're telling me. The read is that they're looking at any case that has that is related to unregistered digital coins being sold that should be registered securities. That could mean both the sort of creators of the coin, the companies that are using it to finance whatever operations they have, like Ripple, like the case against Ripple, which has still not been settled. It's still going on. And exchanges. Okay, so that's what I understand. It's all encompassing. He's pushing for it. We should point out that there's a meeting tomorrow at the SEC. Apparently, the meeting with the commissioners occurs when they talk about enforcement cases. From what I understand, this will likely be part of that meeting. So stay tuned for more crypto cases coming soon. And again, on this whole issue of securities. Now, one point before I wrap it up. If Ripple wins the case, this kind of becomes a moot point. It's going to be very hard for Gary Gensler to bring cases of unregistered securities if somehow the courts set a precedent that says you can issue these things and you don't have to register. And even if you use it to build out your platform, which Ripple did partially for their cross-border payment system. If they win the case, meaning the SEC wins, well, I think Gensler is smelling a win based on what happened at FTX and a lot more. What's going to hit the fan.
So yeah, I mean, again, this is a guy that has backtracked quite a bit. Maybe these media guys know more than us. We don't know. There's been a lot of payoffs in the past around some of these media people, and I mean, who knows, right? Who really knows? But I do think that the SEC is trying to bring up as many crypto cases as possible. I think that's the number one reason why it went after exchanges. It has the perfect argument to go after exchanges as well. Who knows if they are expecting a loss against Ripple? Who knows if they just want to, get quick paydays? Honestly, we don't really have a lot of substance on that subject because from what we have seen from the SEC. It seems as though Gary Gensler just wants to be that guy that said, hey, we got things done around crypto. But we all know that everything that he has been doing is not beneficial at all to the general public. And it seems as though this guy just wants to, create this great resume and, hey, look at how many regulatory actions we did, even though most of them, if not almost all of them, are complete nonsense. I do agree with a few of them, but look at all of the other ones that got through the door. FTX is a huge one that got through the door, spoke with Gary Gensler about, multiple things. And guess what? Rug pulled how many people? Luna was another one. Celsius, Voyager. I mean, there's so much happening here where the regulators have completely failed and gone after the good guys, gone after the projects that were actually beneficial for the general public. So, to me, I do think that the SEC and Gary Gensler needs to, I think that they need to pay for their actions. How will they pay? We don't know. Will they be fired? Will they go to jail? We have no idea. But I will say this. I do think that it all ties back to one thing, and that is those Hinman documents. I think that we need to see these Hinman documents. A lot of people have said, these Hinman documents, why would they be this damning? Why will they be this shocking if, we're finally getting to see them? Well, I question, hey, if these are so damning, if these are, extremely harmful for the SEC, then why did the SEC argue about them? Why did the SEC try to hide them? Why did the SEC, hide general public away from the general people? That's why I question. But a lot of people think these got, through so easily. So there's probably not a lot of information here. I still think that there's a lot riding on these Hinman documents. I know that everyone has their own opinion, but to me personally, I think that there's a lot riding on these documents. And I think that what we will see from this will shock us. And I think that's going to be a shock, you know, heard around the entire crypto industry. I think that the entire crypto industry should be watching this case, whether or not you like Ripple, whether or not you hold XRP, everyone should be watching this case, because this case itself has a lot riding on it for the entire industry, not just Ripple, not just XRP. So with that being said, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, definitely leave a like, subscribe, to notifications on if you guys have more free content. You guys are more than welcome to follow me on Twitter and join the free Discord down in the description below. This is up to you all. Have a beautiful day or beautiful night wherever you guys are on this beautiful world. This has been Nick. Peace out, guys.